tutorial on how to cover and decorate the cake board for the cakes. If you like this type of tutorial, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Covering the board in fondant will finish the base of your cake and it makes the look complete. It just looks prettier with it. You can leave the design simple or you can complement the cake with a design on the board too. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you knead your fondant well. You want to make sure it's nice and pliable. I add Crisco to my fondant just to make sure it's not dry. Once you're done kneading, get your rolling pin and roll your fondant. I don't like to work with thick fondant, so I roll my fondant between 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. You don't have to roll a perfect circle, but you want to make sure that the thickness of the fondant is even all around your piece. This is why I use a rolling pin that doesn't have any handles. When I have no handles in the rolling pin, either I could roll it with my hands or I can use a rolling pin as a smoother and just slide it across, and this helps me smooth it out and make sure it's level everywhere so I don't have bumps here or there. Once you have smoothed the fondant to the correct thickness, you want to smooth it out and make sure it fits your board. This is a step I never miss. I always smooth my fondant before putting on the board or even on the cake. This way I get rid of any lines that the rolling pin left and just have it smooth ahead. As you can see, the thickness is the same everywhere, and this is something that you want to make sure that everywhere is the same thickness. This is the cake drum, and usually I cover this with just regular water. You can use piping gel too if you prefer. Place the fondant carefully on top of your board and smooth. You want to make sure you get rid of any bubbles that you have underneath. Once everything is smooth, it's time to cut the border. I love to use a palette knife to cut the edge of my board because it's very sharp. But if you don't have one, you can use a regular blade, and I like them to be sharp. You can also use an X-Acto knife, but make sure it's sharp. That way you can clean nicely and fast. Just find the edge of the board and slide the blade all around it. Just make sure not to go too hard because you don't want to cut the board. Once my border is all cut, I like to smooth everything out and make sure I don't have a sharp edge. How do I do this? I use my finger and round the corner just a tad, and then make sure that if I have the fondant maybe too much to the inside, to push it out with the smoother, or if it's too far out, I can correct that with the smoother too. Just make sure that when you're doing the side, that if you have liquid seeping out like piping gel or water, that your smoother is clean before touching the top of the board, because you can transfer some of it to the top and you really don't want to do that. So I usually avoid putting a lot of liquids when I'm doing my board. After you finish with your board, you can add some pattern to it, and I'm gonna add this beautiful lacy effect to my board. I love this pattern. You can use it as a cutout or you can use as an imprint. In my board, I'm using it as an imprint, and I just go all around the board, making sure it meets at the corners. If you want to make sure that this pattern match at the end, I suggest you to measure it first before starting. I didn't do this for the tutorial, and as you can see, it left like maybe 1/4 of an inch separation, which I can put in the back of the cake if that's the case and it happens to you. I love this eyelet cutter, and this one is from PME, and I always suggest to get good quality products. I have seen some copycats and try a few of them, and they don't work the same even though they look the same. So I would suggest to stay with the companies that have been doing this for a long time. I'm just doing this without measuring, just to show you how easy this is, but if you need to measure, just go for it. I am using a tip number 5 and I'm just doing circles all around my lace. You can add as much detail to this as you want or as little. It's your option. One thing that you want to make sure is that you do this before your fondant dries. So as soon as you place your fondant on the cake board, do it. Don't let it dry. Once you finish with your decoration, you can let it dry overnight. If you're in a hurry and you need your board now, you can place this in the oven at 170 degrees for 15 minutes. Once you finish decorating your board, you want to put a ribbon around it to finish the look. Keep in mind that there are many designs you can use when it comes to your board, but also keep in mind that you can leave it basic. It really depends on how much work you want to add to it. Remember, time is always money. So if you're doing this for a client, make sure you're getting paid for your time. And this is the finished board. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you like this type of tutorial, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Also, you can visit me in Facebook, Instagram, and share your photos with me. Until next time, ta-ta!